Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we have a top 5 for you, and this is our top 5 favorite campaign-style games.
So that's going to include things like legacy games where you're going through a mission where you're actually destroying things, but also games where you don't. It's kind of has a campaign that you kind of progress through as you go. Things that may be more and more difficult. Maybe you get to unbox more and more things as you go through them. We love these style of games.
We do.
They're hard to get to the table because these require a lot of subsequent plays, right?
And the same people.
And the same people that usually, ideally you want to lock in the same group of people throughout the entire campaign. So there are 5 we're going to talk about. Actually, we're going to talk about an honorable mention as well.
Yeah, let's just do that now. Let's do the honorable mention now.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the reason why this isn't on a list is because we're at the beginning of it. We haven't experienced enough of the game to actually rank it, but that is Stuffed Fables. So we're currently playing this with our daughters right now, and I am... Frankly, personally for me, I'm just really impressed that our 5-year-old can sit for that long to play that. I mean, we got about a little over an hour of gameplay before we have to pause the game. But so we haven't actually explored the game enough, but it is kind of fun to see the beginning, how it's almost like a choose your own adventure right now, depending on the actions that you come on every map that you're on. So it has this book, and every book there's different sets of rules of what's going on with that page, and then there's a map and sorts, or a player where you're playing your pieces, and then they have movement rules like that. But depending on what happens at the end of that game, however you resolve that particular one, it's going to determine what page you go to next. So that's why it kind of has this choose your own adventure-esque feel to it.
Yeah, it's extremely novel. No other game on our list has that kind of choose your own adventure feel in the same exact way.
Yeah.
And it's new mechanisms. Every time you're on a new page, you're kind of playing its own separate little mini game.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a race, maybe it's a combat, maybe it's a searching for something. Every single mission is different, which is really, really interesting. Every page is its own little game.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're in the big, first third of it, we'll say.
Yeah.
Loving playing with the kids, but we'll do a full review of it once we finish it at that point. But just an honorable mention, we are having a great time with it so far with the kids.
Yeah. All right, why don't you get us started, since I already spoke for a little bit.
All right, so my number 5, or our number 5.
Our number
We're doing a
5.
combined one because all these games we've played together all the way through.
Yes.
All right, so the number 5 game we want to talk about is this is Charterstone from Stonemaier Games. This was uniquely kind of a Euro game.
Yeah.
Right? This was a game where you were gathering resources and you were turning those resources into other things, trying to build buildings. And every time you built a building, it usually unlocked more and more characters. You gave you characters that gave you special abilities, more cards to look at. There's kind of this underlying plot throughout the whole thing. There's this forever king that is asking you to do these tasks, and you're increasingly more and more suspicious of him as the game goes on. I'm not going to spoil too much, but it's a very, very fun kind of reveal as it slowly... It didn't, the story-wise... It's probably had the slowest moving story because the mechanisms were so strong. It was very much a hero game, and as such, you're focusing on the mechanisms and building and churning and that kind of stuff.
I mean, it was a good story. It just wasn't as... You could definitely play this game without being invested in the story. Whereas the other ones that we're going to talk about, you're kind of more invested in the story.
Yeah, this is more you're interested in trying to win the actual game, whereas that wasn't necessarily as prevalent in the other ones, I'll say.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really interesting how it kind of slowly revealed itself, but also the board spread out as well. As you're building, you have more and more options to work with, kind of a worker placement game, and you're building more and more things, and once the board fills up, even still, then you get to build on top of it and be building the clouds at that point.
And the game is double-sided.
Yeah.
And so after you've played the game and you know what's happening, you can actually play it again. You can order a pack from Stonemaier, and you can flip it over, and you can play the game again. And it won't really destroy the story too much. There's only 1 or 2 twists that happen. One of the twists happened to me, so I remember that. But yeah.
Yes, this is, if you're worried about playing a legacy game and having things get destroyed, never being able to play it again, that kind of thing, this one does have a quicker, easier reset than a lot of other legacy games. You do destroy things, but there's a recharge kit, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So that's our number 5, Charterstone.
All right, so let's move on to our number 4. And our number 4 is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, the deck builder game. And this is a game that might seem weird to be on a list like this. However, when you first get the game, it just has the first, every book you open. So there's 7 books in the series. And so you play the game, and then after you win it, you get to add the second book. You get to add the 3rd year and the 4th year after you complete those. And all of those things add different mechanisms. They add different cards. They add different things that you can do. So it just kind of ramps up until you have this full-fledged game that you can pull out at any time. But Ryan also did this with our daughter as she was reading the books last year, 2 years ago. I don't remember.
Yeah, that was kind of the motivation for being able to play the game. We didn't get to play book 3 until she finished book 3 in the series. So she was reading constantly. She was completely engrossed. And then as a reward, as soon as she finished, we get to play it.
Yeah.
And we might have played it 2 or 3 times, and based on how hard it was, until we won, because you can't progress to the next book until you've won the previous book.
Exactly. Yes.
And there's an expansion as well, the Monster Box of Monsters, which adds all new mechanisms and all new characters and all new things that you can do, and adds the challenge level quite a bit. So we did it together, and also I did it with our oldest daughter, who was 8 at the time.
So you could technically just get everything out and play with it all at once, but it is kind of fun to like work your way through it and to build it up, and especially if you're familiar with the series at all, and you can just see how things are added as the books carry on. It's pretty. I would do it like that because it was fun, and I liked that.
Yeah, for sure. The first 1, 2, and 3. If you're familiar with deck building in any way, you're going to find them extremely simple, maybe even too simple.
Yeah.
But once it gets to book 4, that's where it's like, it adds some cool mechanisms and some cool components that I don't want to spoil for you yet. I don't do I just spoil any of these, by the way.
These are, you can spoil them. They're like, let me know in the comments below, what is the time frame between when a game is released to when you can spoil it, right? Like
100,000 years.
No, I want to know what your thoughts are on that. Let us know in the comments below. Is there a time frame? You could agree with Ryan. You could agree that like you can't spoil a game at all.
If someone told us what happened in Pandemic Season 1 before we played it, no matter how long after the fact it was, I would have been livid.
Okay. That's fair, but I want to know what you think. Let us know in the comments below if you think that there is a time frame of when a game is released, or specifically a game that has a reveal type of aspect to it. How long after that game is released to where you feel like it's okay to spoil it, or if you're like Ryan, that answer can be never, but we want to know in the comments below.
All right, so the Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle deck building game.
Yeah.
It goes up to 4 players, and we recommend using all 4 characters,
yes,
regardless of how many players you're playing with.
Yes.
So when we played it just 2-player, we each were in charge of 2 people. Mm-hmm. That made it both harder and easier. Basically give you a well-rounded team, is what it amounted to. If you have just 2 players, you have a lot more control of what's happening, but also you only have 2 powers. So it's limiting, but helpful. But if you play with 4 players, you get all 4 powers, but a lot can change between turns.
Yeah.
So that's the way to play, according to us.
All right, our number 3 is The Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. And this is something that I'll talk about forever whenever I talk about this game, because this is just like the impact it had on us. I remember when my brother came over and we sat down to play this game, and we just sat down to play it. And we thought it was like an hour or so, right, that had passed?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we were getting a little hungry, and we're all like, oh, I wonder what the time is. And it had been like, what was it, 5 hours or something?
Something like that, yeah.
It was just absolutely ridiculous. Like, just that much amount of time had passed, but we are so immersed in this game. So that's like, that I will always remember that as one of my like top 10 gaming experiences of all time. But in this game, what it is it's app driven, and so you have these pieces that have a map. So you the app will tell you when to put something on the board, and you put something on the board, and it will tell you like how you're populating it and stuff like that. And then you get to decide. It is kind of like a choose your own adventure too. Like you get to decide where you're gonna go. Because sometimes we think that sometimes it doesn't matter where you go. It's going to be the last place you go that is going to be, like, where the thing is.
Yeah,
but,
it'll tell you to find a certain character.
Yeah.
And it tells you, oh, you can see 4 people are on the board.
Yeah.
And it might matter which 4 you go to. It'll be the 4th one is the one you need to actually end up talking
We
to.
don't know if that's
Maybe.
actually what's happening, but that is what is happening. And, so that, and then as the game progresses, you're finding other pieces and you're putting on the boards as you're going around and just traveling everywhere. And I love this app integration because the app really is just a bookkeeper for you. It does not play the game for you. It just keeps all the stats for you. It keeps all the hidden things for you. It keeps track of where the people are for you, so you can just go and explore the game. And this experience was just so much fun. It was completely immersive. Like I said, I think we played this in 2.5 sessions.
2 sessions with maybe one carryover mission.
Yeah.
Or something like that. We cruised through. We just like binged it basically.
We did. We totally binged this game because it was that like immersive is just the best word for me to think about that.
And we're big Lord of the Rings fans too, so that didn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
And it had like this music going on in the background of the app. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, if you are a diehard fan in the sense of you need things to line up correctly with the book,
the canon of the,
you might not enjoy this as much. They do take a little bit of liberties with characters knowing each other when they don't necessarily know each other.
Yeah.
But if you can get over that, it is fantastic.
I think of it as like almost like fan fiction. It's like it's in the world of Lord of the Rings, not necessarily canon with the book.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about our number 2 game. I kind of hinted at it earlier. This is Pandemic Legacy Season 1. We have played Season 0 and Season 2. Loved them both. Really, really cool. And we've already done a review of Season 1 and 2, and we'll do a review of Season 0 shortly. Not shortly. We're kind of backlogged right now. Yeah. But Season 1... it blew our minds. It was revolutionary for us.
Yes.
If you're familiar with the game of Pandemic, this is a full cooperative game where you are trying to basically cure all these diseases. And it's kind of a set collection thing going on, but you're trying to gather all these cards so you can turn them in to cure these diseases. But the board's getting worse and worse and worse as it goes on. Different outbreaks of diseases. We've lived this game. If you've been alive since 2020, you've lived this game already. But in the Legacy game, again, it's still cooperative, but you get new mechanisms each month you play. It goes over the course of 12 months, and you actually play them in months. They're just scenarios, basically. And every month, something new happens. You get more plot. You get told some story. You get told some new mechanisms. Hey, there's a new threat you have to face, and maybe there'll be a person running around, or maybe there's I don't even know, some new way that you can stop diseases, but some new way that diseases are spreading faster at the same time. And it's getting worse and worse and worse, but you're also getting stronger and stronger and stronger as the game goes on. You're able to add special abilities to your characters. There's tons of plot twists in this game as you go on. One of them, I'll let you talk about it, I guess, a little bit as far as how impactful it was.
Oh my gosh, this is so silly and ridiculous, but there is a huge twist that happens in this game that if you've played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know how they designed it to make that happen. It's always going to be that person, but they knew what they were doing and they were great at that. But it affected me so much that I remember the next day at work, I was like down. I was actually down, and I couldn't talk to anybody about it because I couldn't be like, this thing happened in the game I was playing.
I was playing a board game, and it made me sad.
And I just can't stop thinking about this thing that happened. Yeah, it was just so silly, but it did a great job at that, right? It really, we were all just...
Yeah, and
when it happened.
You were trying to claw your way through every scenario, trying to use all of the powers of everyone at the table to try to win every single month that you could. And it had a kind of a neat catch-up mechanism. The worse you did, the more resources you had to work with, the more abilities. And the better you did, kind of it pared it down. So that way it was kind of always shifting and balancing. At the end of it all, you get kind of a score based off of how good you did. We got a C, I think.
Yeah.
We get average. But man, what a revolutionary game. It blew our minds. That's why it's number 2 on this list for me.
I think there's a place you can record to see where you are, right? To see where everybody else is. And I'm definitely one of those people who's like, you didn't do that good. You lied.
Yeah, everyone was saying they had an average of a B score. I'm like, no, you
didn't.
Nuh-uh. That'll work. 'Cause we're not
They
terrible
totally-
gamers. You
They
know?
totally could have, and I just like cannot accept the fact that this is what happened to us. Like, no, everybody has to be where I am. It's the only thing that makes sense.
All right, you want to talk about our number one?
Yes, I would love to.
We've arrived.
We're here.
Number one.
Number one. And this is Clank Legacy. Oh my gosh, I have never laughed as much during a Legacy or a campaign style game as I have with this one. It is just absolutely hilarious. So it is the same idea of Clank, where you are doing, it's a dungeon crawler deck builder, so you're trying to go down to get stuff and bring up, but there's this story that's evolving. You're adding things to the board, and there's different things that you're reading, and there's like this thing that's happening in the world, and you have this other company that you're competing against, but they're getting all your jobs, and it's still competitive. It's still like, we're still trying to outbest each other, right? Outbest each other. Is that?
No, that's a word. We're all the same.
It's a word.
We work
It's
for
just
the
not
same,
a phrase.
Yeah, we work for the same company, the Acquisitions Incorporated.
Yeah.
But we still want to be the employee of the month.
Yes. Yeah. That's
So we're trying to work the hardest to get our own individual
But there
scores.
was sometimes, like, when we were reading the text of the things that happened, and I, like, literally just laughing. Absolutely laughing. And there's things that would happen to where somebody would do something, and then, like, 2 games later, that same thing would affect that same person, and it was just so hilarious to see that come through. And when you get new cards, you can name the cards, and you're putting them in, and so when they come back up, you have the story behind that of, like, why you named this card this really funny thing, and so you get to talk about that, you know, basically while you're playing this game. It's just so funny. It's so funny that, like, whenever I think about it, I laugh in my soul.
Yeah, it was strategic. You know, it's dungeon diving. You know, push your luck, race style. You know, try to gather as much stuff as possible and make it up before, you know, whatever bad thing happens. But at the same time, there's so much levity in the card art and in the flavor text. Usually flavor text means nothing to me. I just kind of roll past it. And this one, we read every single bit of it.
Yes.
Every single storyline. And it had kind of a choose your own adventure kind of a thing, too. Which I didn't think about that at first. But yeah, it does also. You get to a certain point, it'll say, you talk to some person. Do you answer them this way or do you answer them this way? And then you get to read a little snippet. And they usually ended up being about the same things.
Well,
like,
a lot of
you
them,
get
like,
$1 or a point or whatever.
You could choose something, and then when somebody else said it, they could choose something. And eventually all of the things would have been chosen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Clank Legacy. If you like Clank at all, or if you like laughing, or if you like
well, here's the thing. Like, one of the people that we played this with had never played Clank before, and still hasn't played Clank before, but played Clank Legacy and was able to catch on really easy to what was happening. You don't have to have that base understanding of Clank in order to thoroughly enjoy Clank Legacy.
All right, you guys, that's our top 5 campaign-style games, games that have some kind of a narrative that kind of expands as you go through it. So tell us, what are your favorites? What's the next one we should play? We're ready to play another one. We're all finished up with all of our campaign-style games.
Almost.
Yeah, you're right. We talked about Stuffed Fables and maybe one other one. But, yeah, let us know what we should do after Stuffed Fables. What are your favorites? We want to know.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. And you can also follow us in all of these places.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.